And good afternoon to everyone. And of course, we're standing with Commissioner Bush this afternoon, along with council members Dave Martin, Jack Christie, Greg Travis, and Amanda Edwards. Commissioner, welcome back to the city of Houston. Let me also congratulate GLO and getting your action plan approved by HUD. I will say that on yesterday, Tom, good. Why don't you come over here? You're very active in this program. Tom McCaslin, head of the Housing Community Development. On yesterday's City Council unanimously approved the City of Houston's action plan to incorporate within the state action plan as an amendment. I certainly want to acknowledge the collaboration between the city, the state, your office, Commissioner, and the feds as we move forward to rebuild the city of Houston and get people back in houses that need to be repaired or reconstructed. Look forward to the continuing effort. And I know we still have a long way to go on the recovery, but steps are being taken, action is being had, and the results are being very positive. So let me take this opportunity to bring up Commissioner George Bush from GLO, State Land Office.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks. Welcome back to the city.
I want to thank the mayor and, of course, the great Houston City Council for their work yesterday to initiate the process of implementing a Houston-focused action plan in collaboration with the mayor and his team and with the Housing Authority, setting up a direct allocation to truly have a locally crafted recovery effort from a housing perspective for the great city of Houston. We're excited at the GLO this week to report that Secretary Carson has approved the largest block grant in response to a natural disaster in the history of the state of Texas, exceeding over $5 billion, with over $1.15 billion coming to the city of Houston alone, with a focus on housing. Later this summer, HUD will finalize their rulemaking approach to infrastructure and mitigation dollars to supplement other mitigation efforts that the city is taking on, as well as the county. I'd be remiss to not also thank the county as well. One of the reasons why the GLO is here today is to deliver the first community development block grant dollars to any community of the 49 counties affected by Harvey in the wake of the storm. So $45 million will be initiated pursuant to a legal agreement with the Harris County Flood Control District to initiate a flood buyout program at the request of Secretary Carson at HUD. So we're excited. As the mayor said, this is the beginning of a long rebuilding and recovery effort. As we continue to rebuild our homes, let's also think about the future to make sure we're mitigating storm surge and other effects from natural disasters in the future. Thank you very much for having me, and we'll open the floor to your questions.
Commissioner, what have you learned in your office's oversight of the initial housing recovery that will guide the long-term process?
So we're excited, and we're joined actually by a FEMA representative to celebrate the fact that we are at 98% completion of the temporary housing mission. The GLO is the first state agency to take on a temporary housing mission in partnership with FEMA in American history. We just crossed the 60,000 Texan housed threshold in a combination of direct repair, MHU, travel trailer units in, as I said, 49 counties affected and declared by the president as natural disaster areas. So we learned a lot. We have pre-positioned contractors. We have staff ready and waiting. We looked closely and in fact inspected damage along with FEMA officials in the Rio Grande Valley this week at that incident in South Texas. And we're prepared. We have our agreement with the federal government already in place, already counter-executed, so our staff is ready to go for the next federal declaration, and later this week we'll find out whether or not DC moves forward on that declaration down in Rio Grande Valley.
Commissioner, what's the message to the Hurricane Harvey victim here who's been sort of, it's 10 months past Harvey, and we understand that this takes time and that it's a long process, but to them it's still extremely long. What's the message to the homeowner who's still taking home that may be unfinished or unsafe?
Help continues to be on the way. As I said, we're 98% of the way working through constituents that applied and received a direct housing benefit from FEMA. A historic block grant has been granted as of this week to Texas homeowners, predominantly in Houston and Harris County. A great benefit for the people of the most important city in the state of Texas, the most populated area of the state of Texas. But this is a long effort. And people at the city and the county and the state and the federal levels are working together in a historic effort to do that, working across party aisles and focusing on getting the job done. I think in the final analysis, when people say that over 60,000 Texans were housed through a temporary housing mission in 10 months, the fact that a block grant of this size was approved within 10 months after landfall, many people behind me, including Mayor, were involved with reaching out to Congress and to the White House right after landfall, and Congress moved quickly. So we're doing what we can, and we're not going to rest until the job is done.
Go ahead. With the $5 billion plus that HUD approved, how soon could survivors actually be seeing that money in their community and seeing the hammer swinging, so to speak?
So what we did in partnership as well at the county and local levels, reach out to Secretary Carson, as there was $57 million in a special purpose account from the 16 natural disaster season that Congress and President authorized for 17 disasters. GLO and Governor's Office reached out and asked Secretary Carson for that money, and he allocated 80% of that to come to Harris County. So as of today, we have a legal agreement on the desk of Judge Emmett, awaiting signature, and a line of credit being funded by HUD as we speak. So this week, conceivable that flood buyout programs funded by these dollars will begin. So in addition to the efforts of FEMA, the HUD program, which is a long-term program, will be a 5 to 6 year program. So that money is already flowing. We've developed the first multifamily asset in Orange, Texas. We're announcing Rockport, Texas later this week. And Houston is getting a large size of that $5 billion. And our agency is also working on the long-term infrastructure planning. And of course, part of our visit here is to learn more about the bond package that voters will be considering on the 1 year anniversary, a $2.5 billion bond package. So a lot of capital is on the table to help Texans all throughout affected areas.
So government fast and storm victim fast are two different equations, if you're willing to accept my logic. Can you set some expectations? When does a storm victim in Houston see progress on their house? And Mr. Mayor, if you wouldn't mind weighing in on that, what is the expectation of what that house looks like? Just as good as it was before it started raining in Harvey? Better? Worse? Set the expectation.
So in the temporary housing program, we're pretty much there in terms of folks that applied through FEMA.gov. So total Harvey affected area, 900,000 constituents applied for help, and over 50,000 qualified for a benefit. So most of them have already received that benefit in addition to a potential individual assistance program. As it relates to the Houston program, we're expecting that in mid-July will be finalized in the process. Now, there are some environmental permitting that is required by HUD and other federal regulations that our team, along with the City of Houston, will be working on, as well as the county, since they manage their own package. And there's a variety of different buckets of capital available, whether it is homeowner reimbursement. So this is available to folks that came out of their savings account that didn't qualify for a FEMA benefit, but went ahead and conducted those repairs as well. As long as they itemize those expenses and can demonstrably prove to our agency or to the City of Houston, they will be getting that benefit within that time frame. There's also an economic revitalization program available to small business owners. There's potentially a homeless assistance program, a rental assistance program, a multifamily development program. So we're encouraging folks to be involved as the action, and I see a copy of the action plan right there, is now in public feedback period here in the City of Houston, where multiple town hall forums are being hosted to hear from public feedback how they would want the dollars allocated. That's important. We don't want Austin or DC to tell Houstonians how the program and the recovery should look as it relates to this pool.
Part of the reason I asked the question is obviously you've heard the criticism of preps that didn't get you back where you were. Set the expectation today. What do the homes in Kingwood look like when you're done doing your work or when Mayor Turner is done doing his?
So preps,
I don't want to relitigate preps.
Sure.
I just want to set the expectation going forward.
Yeah. So it depends on the benefit in the program. So on the homeowner reimbursement program, we've lifted the cap from a prior cap of 60,000 to 80,000. So again, it doesn't look at what FEMA benefit that you earned before. This is a completely different analysis for the homeowner. So depends on the size of the home, depends on the quality of the home, the location of it, available construction materials, the contractor. But you know, it's a benefit that's available, and it's a good one.
Let me just say, I think once the money start flowing, there are a number of unmet needs that exist within the city, where people have received some form of assistance, but it doesn't meet their total needs. From that $1.2 billion that will be flowing down, we'll be able to meet a lot of those unmet needs. So in those instances, they will be in a better position. Whether or not there are some people, for example, who've come out of their own pockets, as the commissioner said, they will be subject to getting reimbursements. And in those cases, their homes, in some cases, may be better. There are some whose homes have just been badly touched, and they're still in a bad state of disrepair. And hopefully, once the dollars start flowing, we'll be able to bring their level of living, their quality of life, their home in a much better position. So that's a plus. And so there are significant dollars out of that 1.2 for repairs, for people who are renters, for apartments, building more apartments, and we're trying to build them in a much better way, so that when the next major storm event occurs, they'll be in a much better place. There are some people, and let me just add, it's still not enough money to meet all of the needs. So there are going to be some people who situation that may not see much improvement because it's not enough for everybody. But once the dollars start flowing, with the emphasis on unmet needs, the hope is that there will be many people who will be in a much better position than where they are today. And then we'll leverage additional city resources on top of that to build additional housing, affordable housing for people in the city.